Hey everyone, welcome to the Live Magic Q&A. This is the free Live Magic Q&A tea party with me, Madame Pamita, that meets up every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We record this as a free live Zoom meeting every Sunday, and then we post the recording later on in the week for a rewatch on YouTube. So if you're seeing this on YouTube and you want to join us live, there's a very easy way to do it. All you have to do is be a Spell Squad member. It doesn't even cost anything to be a Spell Squad member. All you have to do is go to spellsquad.com. That's SPELLSQUAD.com. You go there, you sign up to be on my email list. You'll be a member then of the Spell Squad, and you can then get the emails and the links to join us on Sundays, so you can be part of the club too. Join us in the clubhouse, ask my amazing guests questions about magic, law of attraction, spiritualism, divination, and you name it. We've got everybody. We've got all kinds of people with all kinds of magical practices coming in, all kinds of spiritual practices coming in. And so you'll have a great opportunity to get your questions answered about magic and all kinds of other things. So it's really, really a really great resource. You know, a lot of times you guys have questions for me, and these are questions that other people can benefit from. So just so you know, our questions are questions that are general knowledge questions, meaning that if you have a question like, you know, is Johnny going to come back to me? It's not really, this isn't the forum for that. But if you are like, hey, what's a reconciliation spell? Baby, we got you. We can teach you about magic. We can teach you about spell work. We can teach you all about all of that. In case you just stumbled upon this on YouTube and you don't know who I am Madame Pamita, and I have a YouTube channel that's Madame Pamita, youtube.com/Madame Pamita. I also have an Instagram, which is at Madame Pamita. I have a podcast called Magic and the Law of Attraction, which I missed a week. I have to get back on track again, but we come out weekly on Wednesdays, and we have information there. That's called, you can find that at magicandthelawofattraction.com or on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, all those good places. I have a couple of blogs. I have a blog up on my site, which is about magic and tarot and spirit guides and all kinds of good stuff like that. You can find that on my website, which is parlorofwonders.com. And when you go to instruction, you'll find all kinds of free goodies, learning about magic and all kinds of things like that, including my blog. I also have a blog on Patheos Pagan called Baba Yaga's Cottage. It's my new one, and I'm working on a new article, which I'm very excited about, which is about the mysterious mermaids of the Slavic regions. There's mermaids, interesting mermaids, and they are different than the mermaids. They have legs, for one thing, and they are very different than the mermaids we think of when we think of the Little Mermaid and all that. So that's going to be coming up soon, and that's on my Baba Yaga's Cottage, Patheos Pagan column there. I have a book coming out I have a book out already called Madame Pamita's Magical Tarot, and I have another book coming out this fall, and it's called The Book of Candle Magic. Phoenix got a sneak peek at it. She wrote an amazing, oh my gosh, she wrote
It's such a good book. I can't wait.
You wrote the most amazing and sweet blurb for my book. It was really, really sweet. And I'm really excited for this book to come out, because this book is a complete brain dump of everything I know about candle magic. And I do a lot of candle magic, so I know a lot about candle magic, and it's all in that book. So you can take it from any level, whether you're a beginner or you're really experienced, you're going to get something from this book. It really is that book where you can not just read a recipe, but actually understand the workings behind candle magic, so you can create your own candle magic spells. So I'm super excited about that. It's available for pre-order right now. You can order it on all the usual places, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all those places. And if you have a local bookstore and you want to support them in this time, you know, when everything is, if you have a metaphysical store that you love or a bookstore, you can call them up, contact them, email them, and let them know you'd like to pre-order the book. And that's an amazing way to make that pre-order really have a big bang for the buck, because you're going to get an amazing book, but you're also helping to support those mom and pop shops that really, really, really need us right now. I can't tell you enough how much I am in the place where I'm like, let's support those businesses that are so important to us, and we want to see them. I don't want to live in a world where there's no metaphysical stores and no bookstores, you know? So I'm supporting like little bookstores and anybody that's doing anything online. I'm supporting it to keep them going through this time that we're in right now. Let's see if there's anything else. Well, no, there's nothing else about me, but let's talk about my amazing guest. My guest is a dear friend of mine, Phoenix Le Fae. I've known her for years and years. We've known each other for a long time, been colleagues for a long time. And she is the author of an amazing book that I sell at the Parlor of Wonders. It's up on the site. If you go to books, you can find it there. There's a way you can support an independent bookstore. Her book is What is Remembered Lives, which is a book about ancestor work, which is, that's my jam. And she also has a new book coming out later on this year called Walking in Beauty. Phoenix is a professional reader. She's a root worker. She's a teacher, and she's a ritualist. She's been practicing witchcraft for 25 years, which is hard to believe because she looks like she's 25. So we think she knows how to do those glamour spells and make her look 25. Her teachings are connected to the reclaiming tradition, to Druidry, that's just hard to say, and Gardnerian Wicca. And she also has one of those independent metaphysical stores up in Sebastopol, and her shop is an esoteric goddess shop called Milk and Honey. So I am so excited to have you, Phoenix. Yay. I'm glad that you're here. So I want to hear, first of all, I want you to tell a little bit about first of all, let's talk about your shop.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about, you have a special going on right now, because that's very exciting. Yeah. And then we'll talk about your book. So what's going on?
Well, so Milk and Honey has existed in Sebastopol since 1996.
Wow.
And it's been mine for 5 years. So I'm the current steward of this magical space, but it's always been a magical goddess shop. It's like a cornerstone staple of our little town. And the story, I actually have to share the story now. How it became mine is totally magic. The previous owners decided, they were a couple and they were splitting up, and they're very good friends still. They come in all the time and come visit the shop and say hello. But they were splitting up and decided they needed to sell the business as part of their dissolving of their relationship. So they put it out on their mailing list to just their customers first. And I had like 20 people forward me this email like, "Oh, Phoenix, you should buy this shop." And I was like, yeah, right. Like, yeah, right. That was not even in the realm of possibility. But it stuck in my brain. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I actually went to Australia to teach at a witch camp. And while I was there, I was telling some of my American friends about this thing with Milk and Honey. And one of my friends took off a ring and gave it to me and said, my best friend owns Milk and Honey. She's one of the people you've been talking to. I'm going to give you this ring because I feel like this is going to make it manifest for you. And I was like, what? So I get home, I call the owner, and I was like, okay, I just want to talk to you about it. And she said, we had a sell. It fell through today. Let's talk. And then I found an angel investor and everything just fell into place. So it's magic. Like how it came to be mine is totally magic.
Oh my gosh. I love that story. I never knew that story.
Yeah. It just all fell into place. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Crazy.
Her store is so beautiful. If you see, I mean, I haven't been there in person, but I've seen pictures, and then I know you have amazing things because we do vend together at PantheaCon. So I've always seen what you have. She has just such beautiful stuff. And you're having I know we were talking before we came on that you're having a special that we want to share with you guys because there's a Mother's Day special coming up. What is that?
Yeah. So everything on our website is 10% off with the code MOMLOVE. All in caps, MOMLOVE. And that sale's going on until May 9th, the day before Mother's Day. So, and if you want to purchase something for mom or for someone who is mom-ish or for yourself, that if you're a caretaker, right? We do not discriminate on how a mom shows up. All genders and persuasions can be moms. But we'll gift wrap if you want gift wrap. And all of that is just free. Just put a little note that please wrap, this is for mom. But it also doesn't have to be for mom. Mom love is for everyone. So,
Sometimes we have to be our own moms, if we don't have our mom there for us, we have to be mom to ourselves,
Absolutely.
So you can buy something for yourself. No one's gonna follow up to make sure you
No.
use that code for a gift. You can use it
No.
for a gift for yourself.
Everyone deserves presents.
Exactly, exactly. She's got gorgeous crystals. She's got gorgeous magical supplies, beautiful like herbs and oils and all kinds of amazing things. So really go and check it out. And what's the website address?
Yeah, milk-and-honey.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there they can find you there. I'll put it also in the links below. I'll put it, in fact, I can put it down here so everybody can find it. And then I'll put it in milk-honey.com.
Yeah.
And then I'll put it also in the I'll put it in the YouTube comments as well, or description as well.
Awesome, thanks.
So let's talk a little bit about your book. You obviously sell your book at your shop as well, so they don't have to buy it from me, they can buy it from you. If I get a signed edition, right, from you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, if you want.
So let's talk a little bit about your book that's out now and the book that's coming. So tell them a little bit about what is Remembered Lives.
Yeah, so many pagan traditions use the phrase "what is remembered lives" when someone passes on, when we have a beloved or an ancestor. And the thought is when we remember them, their energy continues. And I've sort of looked at that at a wider scope. What if it's not just our ancestors? What if it's the Fae? And what if it's the deities of the world that also need to be remembered? So, and really connecting with gods, connecting with ancestors, connecting with spirits of the land or Fae beings, it's really not that different. You know, your approach may need to be fine-tuned or tweaked depending on who you want to approach, but opening yourself up to communicate with the other realms is opening yourself up to communicate with the other realms. So, you know, the book is split into 3 sections, specifically gods, ancestors, and Fae or spirits of the land, with some tips and tricks and stories and ways to connect and communicate that I have found helpful. So hopefully they can work for other folks too. And yeah, it's talking about the gods and talking about Fae and it's my favorite thing. I could geek out on this topic forever. And I teach workshops about goddesses. We do different goddesses all the time. I have a Hecate workshop coming in a couple weeks. So there's always something going on because it's my favorite thing. It's so much fun to talk about. So just sharing that.
Is your workshop up online? Is that what you're doing online? And
yeah.
Do they find it at milkandhoney.com or where do they find it?
Yeah, milkandhoney.com. Milk and Honey also has a Facebook page, and I have a Facebook page too that I've recently started, but I'm trying to post all my things on there too. Phoenix Le Fae on Facebook. So yeah, there's always a way to find the fun stuff going on.
That's so great. And that, you guys, this is like, I feel like taking classes and workshops right now is such a lovely way to, I think it's really interesting during this time when we're all in the shutdown of feeling this push that we need to be productive, but also feeling kind of burnt out and worn out. And then how do we get productive? Then we feel bad that we're not being productive. But taking a workshop can be such a way of being productive, learning something, gaining some knowledge, but not really having to expend a huge amount of energy to do it. You know what I mean? There's a kind of interesting dynamic. When you're taking a workshop, you're learning something and you're progressing and you're being productive, but you're not having to hustle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You sign up and you show up. And if you show up, I think, you know, that just that effort of showing up can produce a great result for you. And your Hecate workshop is coming when? When is that happening?
I think it's on May 20th. I'm doing a candle magic workshop on the 13th, and then the 20th I think is the following week.
Oh my gosh, that's great. You're doing workshops all the time.
Well, we do them in the shop all the time, and not being able to go to the shop is like, well, how the heck do I do my classes? It's, you know, it's fun. I miss it. And so we've been doing, well, not me and the mouse in my pocket, have been doing webinars like this on different goddesses, because I felt like if we could do a workshop with like Bridget, that was the first one I did online, you know, a goddess of healing, someone that we can turn to and reach out for during this pandemic. And then as that, you know, I was preparing for that, Sekhmet kept popping up because she's the devourer of plagues. So I was like, shit, we need to do a Sekhmet class. So we did. And now Hecate is like, all right, my turn. So, you know, it's just, for me, it's been a way to connect to divinity and to connect to my community and to have a little bit of fun and, you know, doing my spiritual work at the same time.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I love that so much. So you'll have to go over to milkandhoney.com or go over to Phoenix Le Fae, find Phoenix Le Fae, and on Facebook I'll type her name so you know how to spell it, because it is a interesting, it's not interesting if you know, but it's not a thing that they can we can assume that someone would know how to spell it. So in fact, weird. It's trying to spell check Le Fae into leaf for me. So. So there you go. So if you find her on Facebook, you can follow her friend on Facebook and do that, and the shop as well. And then you can find out about all these workshops. And workshops, I think, are such a great way for people to connect to other people, to learn something. And you feel productive by doing it, you know, which is so important during this time. I think to feel like we're not just, I don't think it, you know, pulling the covers. I think there are days when we pull the covers up over our heads, but on those days, at least me, I'm always on the go. And when I do that, I'm like, oh my God, I just wasted a whole day and I could have been writing, or I could have been doing this. And I feel kind of beat myself up for doing that. So taking a workshop is a way to avoid beating yourself up, you know, which is a lovely thing to sort of do. And you're gaining some beautiful knowledge from knowledgeable teachers. So I love that. So you have your new book coming up.
Yeah.
Is She Walks in Beauty. No, Walking in Beauty. Walking in Beauty. She Walks in Beauty. Isn't that like a poem or something?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
So I had an idea that this was a book about glamour spells. Glamour being like, I'm going to make myself appear beautiful. Right. I'm going to make myself appear 25 years old, even though I've been studying witchcraft for 25 years.
I'm 42.
Oh my gosh, you look so beautiful. See? She knows what she's doing. All right. So it's not a book about glamour magic, though. That's what
there's a little bit of that in there. You can't really talk about beauty without that coming up. So there's a little bit of that in there.
But you were telling me before we started the show about a little bit about the book, and it's amazing. So I want you to tell them about that book and what it's all about.
It's kind of interesting to describe it because it does encompass so many things, but it's like, you know, you can spend 10 minutes, 5 minutes on social media, and especially right now, and feel like, wow, it's bad. The world is bad. People are bad. Everything's terrible. And to really kind of go and on a downward spiral with that, at least I can find myself doing that. So this book is sort of the antidote, because if you look outside, like I have a window on both sides of me right now, even though I live on a cul-de-sac in a suburb, I can look outside and see the wind blowing through the trees. I can watch a bird fly by. I have all these opportunities to connect with beauty, to connect with mystery, to connect with the bigger world beyond just what's happening in my humanness. And when we have that connection, it can help. It soothes the edges. It helps. So that's really what the book is about: reconnecting to mystery, reconnecting to the wider world, reconnecting to nature, and finding beauty, because it's literally everywhere, literally.
Yeah. And that kind of beauty, it's interesting because we can find, I think, like you pointed out something really interesting, which is like if we're looking at let's say a beautiful painting, it can, if you're a painter and you're looking at someone else's beautiful painting, it can bring up emotions. You might be like, oh, I suck. Look at that person did that amazing thing and I can't do it. Or, you know, so that comparison voice inside of us, which is the ego, you know, inside of us, when you're out in nature, is no competition. It's just for your pleasure only. It's so beautiful, you know, just whatever it is, if it's snow, if it's flowers, if it's whatever, you're out there just enjoying that experience and being mindful. It is a mindfulness practice. It sounds like, you know, what you're talking about. Yeah. It's so beautiful. So healing and so regenerating for, and also too, it's very interesting. You kind of bring that up. When I talk to people about working with herbs magically, when you really want to be an herb person, like you really, really want to, like you can work with an herb and have no connection to the herb, but just work
Yep.
with it, you know?
Yep.
But if you really want to really do some really intense, interesting magic, go spend time with plants. Go spend time just being with them. It doesn't be you have, you know, if you grow it, great, but you can just be out with the plants that are already in existence and really get that communion going back and forth rather than just using it. You know, it's fine to use it. I don't think a plant is going to complain about you using a basil leaf in a, you know, in a spell to bring in abundance. They're not, or protection or whatever. But I don't think you're going to have that same depth of experience and that beauty that you're talking about just doing that. It's being mindful and being present and really being with the energy of that plant. And then you'll start to know that every plant is magical, not just ones that are listed in the books.
That's right.
Plants will tell you what they can do magic for. They'll talk to you. They'll tell you, not obviously with mouths, but they're going to tell you energetically what they can be used for magically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's such a beautiful thing. Well, you ready to get to some questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So Nina has a question. She says, if you're trying to manifest a move and you are constantly seeing that place name, what does it mean? I think it got cut off, but I think she was going to say, what does it mean if you're seeing a place's name constantly?
Well, I think if that's a place you're considering moving to, that it's a pretty big sign that that's take the action. You know, if you have a list of potential places to move to and this name keeps popping up, that for me would be follow the energy. Why does that keep popping up? Follow that energy and see about moving.
Yeah, exactly. I'm right on board with that. It's messages from your guides.
Yeah.
It's a message from the universe. Pay attention, look at this, go explore this. We're going to keep throwing it in your face until you get it into your head, you know.
Yeah.
The universe will work in that way, just like when you were the store, you know, Milk and Honey kept popping up for you and all those synchronicities. If you pay attention to the synchronicities, right, they'll tell you where you need to do, what you need to do.
Absolutely.
All right, so another question. This question's from Holly. My husband, this is an interesting one. So it's an interesting question. It's a personal question and it's very particular, but I think it has some interesting magical implications. So normally we don't answer a question like about a personal thing that doesn't benefit, but this one is a personal one, but I think it benefits a lot of people. So Holly says, my husband has a special candle that he lights when he Skypes with his girlfriend. He's left it at my house and misplaced it. Is there some spell I can cast before I tell him I have found it? I have breakup sachet powder, but that feels kind of intense to use. So I'm getting the subtext from this is like, I've got a weird personal concern, basically.
Right.
An unusual personal concern. I do want him to separate from his girlfriend. How can I use this particular personal concern? Yeah. What would you do with that? That's such an I just think this is such an interesting situation. That's why I kind of picked it. So
it is an interesting question because I think, you know, there's a lot of subtext here. So like, you know, my brain is like, okay, there's layers. My husband's girlfriend. So do you have an open relationship? Is it okay that he has a girlfriend? You just don't particularly care for this person. You know, but if you want to stop that relationship, you have access to the candle he's been burning when they talk. I wouldn't give it back to him.
Same, girl.
Break it. Yeah. 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 Break it. Throw it in 2 different garbage cans. Like, keep it apart and don't give it back. Sorry, he misplaced it. Says that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think, you know, if he misplaced it, you can be like, oopsie, I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
I think you wanted to do a breakup or separation. You know, there's 2 different kinds of workings. There's breakup work where there's arguments between the 2 people, and there's separation where you're separating them.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it as a breakup. Like you can, although I was thinking same, break that candle in 2 and throw it in 2 different trash cans far away from one another, or bury it in 2 different graveyards, or do whatever. But I would feel okay. Like if it sounds like he doesn't live at the same house or whatever is going on. Right. So you're aware of it, but you want to break them up because you're asking about breakup stuff. So I just would the candle's missing. Oops. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know what the heck. I don't know what the heck happened to that candle. You sure you didn't put it away somewhere? You sure you didn't do, you know, but I'm maybe a little devious.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Doing a little gaslighting on it.
Yeah.
You see the sneaky side of Madame Pamita. but if you're wanting to separate them, you've got a great personal concern there. You've got a really great personal concern because it is a personal concern that has to do with their communication, and
Yep.
you want to stop them from communicating. You can break that candle in two. So this is an interesting thing. Another thing that I came to mind too, is that when we blow out a candle, we're ending something, right? So I would light that candle and blow it out. You're in that relationship.
Nice. Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
You're doing coercive work. I don't know, you know, it's up to you. You have to
Yep.
check in with your own ethical boundaries. If you feel okay with that or don't feel okay with that, we can make a suggestion of what we would do or where we would come from, but you have to decide for yourself. So that's one of those things. It's coercive magic. You're
Yeah.
interfering in someone else's relationship, but it's like, if you feel strongly about it, then you got an option here. And here's, I guess, one last thing I would say. You've got a personal concern. It's your insurance policy. You don't have to do anything with it right now. You can hide that candle away. And then if you feel like you want to do something with it later, then you can pull it out and do something later.
Yeah.
You know, so don't feel pressured that you have to do something right now, or you're feeling comfortable. Maybe put it away for a little while and just think about it, but be like, you know, whatever. I don't know where your candle is. You gotta keep better track of your stuff.
Yep. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Phoenix and I are like, we know how to work with a personal concern.
Yeah. Well, and if they're married, and we're talking about a girlfriend, like, you know, there is a bond from marriage that is easier to get interference out of the way. So just know that too. Like that is easier to deal with than if you are the third party trying to come in and break up a marriage. And it's not that this is not a religious thing. It doesn't matter how you were married. If there is some sort of binding, either legal or spiritual connection for people who are calling themselves married, that takes up more energy than someone who's boyfriend or girlfriend or coming from the outside trying to break that. So, you know, you already have a little more weight in your corner if that's the concern.
Yeah. And there's a pledge that happens. You know, you think about that. There's, you know, the power of words and the power of magic. When you make a pledge to someone, I pledge to marry you. I pledge to, and usually on marriage pledges, unless you have a poly relationship or an open relationship, whatever the pledge is, that I'm going to be monogamous. So someone broke the pledge, I'm assuming someone broke the pledge here. And so you do have that sort of justification for doing this kind of work. Personally, I check in with my guides on doing different kinds of work. And one of the things that I check in is on breakup work. My guides will always say no unless there is a marriage and there's once was a healthy marriage and there's an established thing there. And then if there's a third party, then I can do the work. But that's like, it's always on a case by case basis. But never, if I ask my guides, can I break up that marriage so that, you know, Johnny can marry Sally? It's like, no, you know, that's not, it's a no-go for me. So, but that's like one of those things that's in that area where you have to kind of see where your ethics are and see how you feel about it. So if you don't know what you want to do with it right now, I put it away and just hide it away somewhere. And then if you decide you do want to use that personal concern, you can always use it later. You know, it's one of those things. I think personal concerns are quite valuable in magic. You don't necessarily need to use them right away, but if you got an opportunity to get them, hang on to them because you may want to use them later, you know?
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. So anything else you want to say about that?
No, I think we got it.
Okay. Okay. Someone's saying they can't hear us before you were nice and loud. I don't know. I'm not sure what that is. Hopefully you guys can hear us. Okay. So do you do astrology stuff? Are you an astrology kind of person?
I know a little astrology. I know enough to be dangerous, I think is the thing.
I know a little bit too. This is not a question I can answer, but maybe you can answer it. But we have, Sevda is asking, what kind of magic should be done on May 6th? Because the moon and Pluto are going to be conjunct. They're going to be, do you know about that? So I wasn't even aware of that. I knew the 7th is our full moon.
Right.
And I know that we're going to have that, we're going to have the full moon then, but I don't know about the moon and Pluto conjunct. I don't even, I'm not that advanced in astrology.
I only know, like the little bit I could say is it's a really good time to have things revealed, right? Because that moon and Pluto energy is a lot of secrets and things under the surface. Like it's kind of like the moon tarot card. So it's a good time if there are things you want revealed, if there's a deep work that you're working on and you're not quite sure where to go, it might be a really good time to do a reading. But that's the energy I would focus on. How is what needs to be revealed. Yeah,
that's a good one. I can't address it because that's I'm not, that's not my thing, but yeah, that's a great answer. All right. Oh, okay. Do you ever do dream work?
Oh, a little bit. Yeah.
Katie has a question. What does it mean if you're having lots of weird, detailed dreams? And what actions could you take to find out more about them?
So there is something about our current situation in the pandemic that I'm hearing that from a lot of people. A lot of people are having intense dreams, scary dreams, really detailed dreams, even people who don't normally dream. So I think there's something happening in our collective unconscious that messages are coming through even for folks who aren't used to that, don't believe in it, whatever. Our collective unconscious is kind of heightened right now because we are all experiencing intensity in our lives. So one of the things that I was taught is to keep paper and pen by your bed. And as soon as you wake up, write it down. Write down words, phrases, colors, scents, anything the first thing that pops into your brain, write everything you can down. And that sort of trains you to start getting better at remembering. And it's hard to see patterns until you have a pattern to look at, right? So after a few weeks, you can look at your dream journal and see what's repeating, what patterns are here, what information do you maybe need to be paying more close attention to. It's like synchronicity, like you were saying, Pamita, in other parts of life. Your dreams will give you the same messages that synchronicity will.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times I always say I dream of dead people. I have a lot of visitations from not only my dead people, but other people's dead people will visit me and I'll be like, okay. So, and they're always happy dreams. They're not scary dreams. It's not like scary, ghosts or bad things. It's always like they're there and they're telling me they're fine. And so then I tell the person, your parents, I saw your parents last night and they said they were fine, So, but we have, that opportunity to connect. It's so much that can happen in dream time. We can connect with spirits of people that have passed. We can connect with spirits like your spirit guides, your deities, your elementals, and things like that. We can also get messages from people on the astral plane. So sometimes people will say, oh, I had a dream about you, Madame Pamita. I had a dream about you. I'm like, oh, I visited you. We hung out together on the astral plane. That's awesome. So you can have dreams about people that are alive and your spirits are both I always call it a visitation, like you guys are having a visitation. Sometimes people will dream about like their lover who, if they're having a problem, maybe they're separated or something's going on, and then their lover will visit them. And sometimes it's like their higher self visiting you. So they might not be nice to you because the ego is in control, and they might not be nice to you on the physical plane, but on the spiritual plane, they might be super sweet and nice and visiting you because that's their higher self. So that's another thing that can happen in dreams. So yeah, Phoenix is absolutely right. Writing them down will help you remember. Also too, if you sleep next to someone in the morning when you wake up, you can ask each other, what did you dream last night?
Yeah.
And that will also have the same effect. It will make you more, it will kind of work out that muscle so that you start remembering more of your dreams. And when you start remembering more of your dreams, you can see symbolism in your dreams. Not all things are symbolic in dreams.
Yeah.
Some things are actually representational. Some things are symbolic, but you can kind of, I don't know, maybe you tell me what you think, Phoenix, but I think like those dream dictionaries are okay,
Yeah.
but really you have to look at what that symbol means to you, not a generic, what does it mean?
Absolutely. I was just about to say the exact same thing. Absolutely. I think it's a good jumping off point, especially if you feel like something has symbolism and you can't quite grasp what it is. It's a good, like, it can give you information. It's interesting, but I wouldn't say it's gospel. And it's like your personal imagery is personal, and that's way, if you know, a potato chip means deliciousness to you, to someone else it might mean malnutrition. So it's more important what it means to you and how it shows up and how it makes you feel. Yeah, the books are okay, but it's way more important about how it makes you feel. And
Yeah.
I actually took a class where we did dream work, and one of the exercises we did was to trance back into the dream, so that we could interact and ask questions and flesh things out that we weren't able to flesh out when we were having the dream. So that's also an interesting exercise, to go back into the dream and see what else you can glean, what else you can get. Yeah.
It's such a, yeah, I think it's a good way to do that if you're not sure, like thinking symbolically isn't your jam. I mean, Phoenix and I are readers, so we're used to looking at things symbolically and seeing symbols and interpreting symbols. That's what we do for our living. So if you're not used to doing that, I think that idea that you had of writing down your dream when you wake up on the paper or the notebook or the journal or whatever, you can also start to break down what those things mean on the conscious level. Oh, I saw a candle in my dream. What does a candle mean for me? Oh, it means like there's a little light, there's some hope. I feel like the candle made me feel like this. You can start pulling that stuff up into your head and writing about what you think it means. It's a little bit like when I teach people tarot, I tell them to write in a tarot journal. What do these symbols mean to you? And you have to kind of, just kind of free form journal about it to kind of get those symbols and understand their meaning for you personally.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
All right. Kimberly has a question. This is a great question for you because it's about ancestor work. It's ancestor work on a different level. How do I connect with my familiar who crossed, and I consider familiars ancestors. How do I connect with my familiar who crossed over in 2013? He comes to me occasionally in my dreams. There we go. Visiting in dream time. And I think my cat sees him.
Yeah.
How can I magically boost myself so I can see him while awake?
So, okay, I have some suggestions, and I also want to say, you might not. Not everyone sees things, and I'm one of those people who don't. So I get things out of the corner of my eye, or I get a feeling or an impression. And we have a couple cats who have passed on, that the people who live in my house, my partner and my daughter and my stepdaughter, will go, oh, that was Bear Claw. Like, something happens and we know that it's our cat who's passed on, not an actual physical cat. But I don't ever just see him chilling on the couch, right? Like, but I know my dog does. I know that if I had that skill, I could. And I've been, doing this stuff for a long time, and it's not something that it's not a muscle that's fully developed for me. I'll get it in the periphery, but not like a full-on manifestation. It's pretty rare when a full-on manifestation happens for me. So if that doesn't happen, don't be bummed. Don't be like, I suck as a witch. Nah, not everyone gets that. You might get impressions or feelings, a vibe, a scent, something in the periphery. There's so many ways that things come through. And dreams is one of those ways. So if you're already interacting on the dream realm, then you are getting it. If you want more manifestation, then it's like a muscle. You got to practice. If you're living physical cat is looking, and you know, you're just like, oh no, he's looking at my familiar who's passed on, then look. Keep looking. Can you get an impression? Can you get, is there something fuzzy? Is there a shadow? Is there anything that's starting to develop? And just keep trying. It is a muscle. It takes practice, and it's not an easy skill to develop. That's what I would say. Yeah.
I'm in agreement too. I don't see, I do see lights and shadows, but I don't see physical things, you know, physical ghosts or things like that. I just get, but you know what I would also add to that is don't have a hierarchy about like, this is the ultimate and what I do is beginner level, because it's just different skills. It's kind of like how, you know, this is something really fascinating, a little bit of a tangent, but I can visualize things. I can close my eyes. I can see an apple pretty clear. Like if I visualize an apple, I can see an apple. But did you know there's people that can't do that?
Yeah.
I saw this thing and it blew my mind. And I'm like, oh crap, I'm telling people to do visualizations. And there's some people that visualization isn't possible. It doesn't mean they're less than or diminished or unskilled or something's defective. Not at all. It's just a different way. So it's just like the clairs, the clairaudience, the clairsentience, the claircognizance, and the clairvoyance. You might have a sense that's more developed or more natural for you, and go with that one. So if you get little like hair standing up on your, you know, goosebumps or little hair standing up and you know your cat's around, honor that. If you're getting dreams, honor that. And don't go, oh, I'm not good enough because I can't see my cat and everyone else can.
Yeah.
You've got some skills, girl. If you're seeing, you know, if you're seeing a cat in your dream and you're seeing your familiar in your dream, that means you're really open. So the only thing I would add to it, and I'm sure Phoenix wrote a book about altars, so I'm sure she's going to get into this too, is make a little spirit altar to your cat. Like put up a photo of your cat in a frame and put little cat, you know, statuettes around it, or do something like that just to make a space to connect to your familiar, your ancestor, your familiar. So if you make a little ancestor altar, it's kind of like welcoming your cat in. I want to spend more time with you. I want to have more experiences with you. And don't be judging on what the experience is. They will come through in the way that's the easiest for them to come through. And if it's dream time, great. Then you'll have more dreams, you know, and that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
My ancestor altar has 3 boxes of ashes for 3 different cats. But I also have a dog that passed on that I wasn't able to get her ashes back. Long story we don't need to go into, but so her collar is on my ancestor altar, right? It doesn't have to be a physical thing. You don't have to have their ashes or have them buried in the yard. Anything that was sentimental will work for an ancestor altar. So a collar, a food dish. If you find, like, I have a friend who keeps all her cat's whiskers when they fall out. She's got a cute little jar with all these little whiskers in it. Anything that connects you, even if it's a photograph, that's perfect for an ancestor altar. Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah. And I think, you know, even like I have I'm doing a lot of ancestor work going way, way, way back to ancestors that I don't have pictures of.
Yeah.
And so I have symbolic things that represent them. So even if you don't have the thing that they owned or they wore or anything like that, which isn't available to me, I find symbolic things. So you could take like maybe there's a little statue or a little, you know, figurine that looks like your cat. It doesn't have to be, the point of the altar is not the DNA. It's not the personal concern on the altar. It's great if you have a personal concern, but it doesn't have to be a personal concern. It's a place where you're meeting your ancestors, where you're meeting your familiar. And so it's an invitation, you know, and that's what you're doing, is it's communing with them and inviting them. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's my opinion. I think you probably
I think we're on the same page. Yep.
You and I are the same. I get everything you're saying. I'm like, what she said, right? All right. Now here's an interesting question that I have an answer for, but I'm curious what you're going to say.
Okay.
So Francesco says, hello. Well, first of all, can I just say a little plug? Francesco says, Madame Pamita, I just received a prosperity spell kit and got a check the same day. So boom,
right
for you. But Francesco has a question too. I'm really interested in any spell that could help with hair loss.
Yeah.
So my girlfriend is really worried about it. So I don't know if it's girlfriend's hair loss or Francesco's hair loss. So hair loss or health or whatever. How do you work on health with spell work?
Yeah. So funnily enough, when I turned 30, I started to lose my hair, like a lot. And actually my hair is still like, it's not bad, but it's about half as thick as it was when I was in my 20s. So there is this interesting, mundane, regular world thing about women and hair loss, that 70% of women have thinning hair. It's just part of life. So that's something to know, because when I was going through this, I was in a panic. I was so upset. I was freaking out. I was obsessed. I was like, every night I would stare at my scalp and try to figure out what was going on. And there are some mundane things you can do. There are herbs and supplements and vitamins. There's over-the-counter treatments. There's Rogaine. Like, there are things you can do that are mundane things. Because my experience is twofold. If you're experiencing hair loss and you're having other symptoms, then you might be dealing with cross conditions. You may have to do some uncrossing work, some cleansing work, some clearing. You maybe someone threw some shade at you, right? That's one magical possibility. The other magical possibility is you're not healthy in alignment. So you may need to look internally at where you're out of balance, where you're not taking the best care of yourself. Maybe you're not getting the nutrients that you need. So it's really a twofold thing. And this is my experience with my clients, but also my personal experience. So when this started happening for me, I went to the doctors, I went to an herbalist, I went to a naturopath. Like, I tried all the things. And when I had started my mundane stuff of internal work, added meditation and checking in, then I did a full cleanse of my house. I did an uncrossing spell. I cleared some cords that I knew were problematic in my spirit body, and it did help. It did help. I mean, I still, I have hair. It's not back to what it was when I was 20, but I also know that I'm 42, and it's nothing in my life is like it was when I was 20. So, I think that when it comes to physical stuff, you look at the spirit, but also look at like regular mundane things, and do those things in tandem.
Yeah. You said pretty much what I was going to say too, because we're on the same page. I wrote an article in my blog. So if you go over to Parlor Wonders and go to instruction, and you go to Magic Blog, which that instruction section is a fabulous free resource with tons and tons and tons and tons of information. And one of the things that I wrote about in my blog was healing spells. How do healing spells work? So people have an impression of like, I've got a health condition, so I'm going to light this candle and then my health issue is going to go away. Sometimes those spontaneous healings do occur. I'm not going to say they never occur, but those are the very, very, very tiny minority where you have a situation and you do spell work and it resolves. The vast majority of healing spells are you do the candle or you do the cleanse or you do the whatever, and it leads you to the material world solution that you need. So I had the same thing where I had alopecia areata, and I had these spots of bald spots on my head, like full on bald, like size of a $50, and completely no hair on them. And so I did some candle work and I did spell work to find a solution, but it led me to the information that, oh, I was eating wheat and wheat might be a problem. And then I stopped eating wheat and my hair grew back. So that was, could you say, well, yeah, would have stumbled on that information? Maybe, maybe not. I think that spell work will lead you to the right information. You'll listen to that information. You'll register that information. Your guides will lead you to the right information. They'll lead you to the right health care providers. They'll lead you to the right medications or vitamins or things like that. So the spell work is important, but the spell work generally isn't the thing that's going to solve the problem. It's going to lead you in the direction, because when material world things need material world solutions. I mean, that's it. I mean, you can bring spirit to the material world for sure, But when you're dealing with a physical body, it's kind of a little bit, I know you're going to agree with this, Phoenix. Like, I'm going to do a spell for a job, but I'm not going to put out any resumes or tell anybody that I'm looking for a job. Can it happen? Sure, I guess. Somebody can call you, hey, are you looking for work? I mean, once in a while that happens. But I think most people would agree that you do that in conjunction with the physical work of doing the action of putting out the resumes and all of that, right? So the same thing with the health thing. I think you want to use them. If you want a solution, you want a solution fast. Sure, I can sit on my butt and wait for a solution, but I'm going to also do the footwork along with that spiritual work. So that's what you were saying. So yeah.
Absolutely. I say that all the time. If you do a love spell, but then you just sit on your butt and watch Netflix and you don't go anywhere or sign up for a dating app or do anything, you're not going to meet somebody. you got to do something.
Like I say, your boyfriend is not the pizza delivery guy. Maybe he is the pizza delivery guy. Maybe once in a bazillion years, but that also sounds like a little bit like a porn scenario. Got your sausage pizza, lady. Hey. He's not going to come knocking on your door. So there has to be some, like, the best thing on those material world things is to do the spiritual work and to do the physical work too, and have them work in conjunction, because then you're really supercharging that outcome and making it and really bringing all the resources together. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the magician card in the tarot. And the magician card on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, he's got all the resources there. He's got his sword, he's got his wand, he's got his cup, and he's got his pentacle. He's bringing it all. He's using everything to get that manifestation to happen. He's not just using the idea. He's not just using the thought. I mean, the pure thought, if you're really adept, you can come up with the pure thought and manifest it. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put that thought, but I'm also going to do the work. I'm also going to stir things up and make it happen faster, take some action and make it happen faster. Because I don't want to wait 20 years for my outcome, you know?
Right.
I don't want to meditate for 20 years on getting a job, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's fine, but I'd rather make it happen. Put yourself out into the world where the synchronicities and all of those things can happen.
Yeah.
So for your hair loss spell, do a candle or do a cleanse or do a bath or do, you know, carry a mojo bag or do something, but do that along with the intention that it's going to attract or bring in the information that you need, or the healthcare providers or the resources that you need to get the resolution. It worked for me, and that's exactly, and it worked for you. It's exactly what we found with hair loss. She didn't just do a cleanse or candle. She did the cleanse and the candle, but she also went to naturopaths and to doctors and to research these things and all of that, and then had a good resolution. So it's the same, you know. All right. Let's see. So someone, Sebda asked, what's a good astrology book to learn from? And then Nina said, you should look up Teresa Reed. She has a beginner astrology book. Teresa Reed was on that show. You guys need to check out my interview with Teresa Reed. We had a great show. It's up on YouTube. Margot has a question. What do you tell a person that is just starting? And I guess it's just starting with magic. What would be advice for someone who's like, I'm interested in magic, but where do I start? Where do I go? Because it can feel super overwhelming. I think, you know, like we've been doing it for so many years. We kind of, and when I started, there was barely any information out there. So you didn't feel overwhelmed because whatever you could get at the library or the bookstore, you were like, oh my God, I'm so excited.
There was no internet when I started.
Exactly. It's like, oh my gosh, I've got this book, this amazing book about magic. Oh, I have something here to start with. There was so little out there that anything you found, you were thrilled. But now it's like, there is a vast amount of information that ranges all over the place. So it's a little bit different than in our time. But what would you say to someone who's like, I'm just starting, where do I begin?
Yeah, you know, it's funny is some of the resources, because I got involved in all this in the early 90s. So right at the beginning of the internet, and sort of at the beginning of the peak of interest in the mid to late 90s, witchcraft became really interesting again. So I got involved just right before that. And Scott Cunningham has written a million freaking books, and I still feel like his books are a good resource. They're good entry level. They're understandable. There's things you can do that are easy activities to like get your feet wet, because it is a lot of trial and error. So, you know, you got to figure out your way of doing it. So that I still refer people to Scott Cunningham just because it's delicious entry level goodness, you know. But it's also like journaling, I think, is so important. Connecting with people who are doing stuff, and I know that's hard now because of the world, but there are public pagans all over the place that are putting on public rituals and having workshops and classes. And the more you can plug into those things are great, you know, connecting with people who are doing things, because it is easier to be an armchair witch or an armchair pagan and just read, but witchcraft is about doing. So you got to practice, and you have to be prepared to fail spectacularly and try again, you know. And the other thing I would suggest is daily practice. And daily practice could look a million ways. It could be meditation, it could be trance journeys, it could be playing the drums, singing, it could be pulling a tarot card or a rune every day. It could look a million ways, but doing something every day on the regular that connects you with spirit or higher power or something bigger than yourself is going to get the motor running, you know, and make all of those other things easier. But yeah, it is hard because the bombardment of information is, I think, what makes it hard right now in the present, because a lot of the info is bullshit. Sorry.
Don't we know it, man? Oh, yeah. I've seen some things and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things that comes to mind for me is like places, like when we get back into the place that we are able to go to shops again, if you have like a metaphysical shop around you, even on like virtually online, you can connect to that as a little community and see what their offerings are. So, but now that we have this like distance thing, I mean, like you can connect to Milk and Honey, even if you're not in Northern California, and you can see like what she's offering, like those workshops that she's offering are a good place to connect and commune and have that experience and dip in. I know that some people are book people and some people are experiential people. And so you kind of have to know who you are and how you learn best. There's also another thing, like I think I have to give a little plug. Can I give a little plug?
Yeah.
To Llewellyn, who's my publisher for my Candle Magic book and is Phoenix's publisher, because their books, a lot of their books are geared toward introductory stuff. They've got a lot of books. So if you look at a publisher who, now not everything is there, but there's certain publishers have certain vibes, and there's some that are really esoteric and like really kind of high like advanced level stuff. And if you jump in with those publishers or those books, you'd be like, what? But not to say that all Llewellyn books are entry level. There's definitely like the higher, you know, kind of higher, more detailed and more nerdy books that they publish. But a lot of the books are really accessible, is what I would say, you know, that there's a lot of accessibility. So if you find a publisher, you can look through like what they have up on their website, and you can start to see books that are quality books. Like I know, you know, I love Llewellyn, like they've been around a million years. They put out quality books, they have quality writers, and you can find something that's intriguing to you that would be something that's like, oh, you know, I'm kind of interested in finding out more about the Wheel of the Year, let's say. And like, do they have a book about the Wheel of the Year? Well, you know what? They have these books that are called the Little Book of blah, 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 Llewellyn's Little Book of blah, blah, blah. And they're kind of compact, they're concise. You don't have to read 500 pages. Yeah. And they get you a kind of a dive into something. One of my favorite ones that they have out is the Llewellyn's Little Book of Spirit Guide Animals. Spirit Guide Animals? Spirit Animals. Animals Guides. I don't know. Something like that. Spirit animals, yeah. Right? Okay. Yeah. That book is so great because it's like you see a weird animal, or this animal keeps coming up for you. You look up and you see what it means. It's like super simple. There's all kinds of books. So they have books about like the Wheel of the Year. They have books about, you know, every single thing.
There's a tool series too, like the Athame and the wand and the cauldron and the Book of Shadows. Those are all really great too. Then they're smaller and easy to read, and a lot of good information in those too. Yeah.
One of my favorite books, just like a general, like if you want to know about magic from a folk magic, a hoodoo perspective, one of my favorite books is a book called Good Juju.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, and Najah Lightfoot wrote that book, and she was on my show a few months back, and she wrote a great book that's an introductory book. So it's like, and that's out by Llewellyn, but it's a great, like, oh, I can kind of feel empowered because it's kind of explaining everything to me so that I don't feel completely lost. Because I can feel very, very overwhelming out there with that. But you can hook up with a store like Milk and Honey. You can go to a class, you go to one of Phoenix's classes. That's another way. You just kind of have to see what works for you, and it is a little bit the Wild West out there. If you go on YouTube, you get all kinds of different things, including some quality stuff and some not so much. Yeah. And if you don't know, and you're like, if you're feeling a little lost, and I think having something with some gatekeeping, like a publisher or like a shop, can be really helpful. That gatekeeping can kind of help you navigate this. Here's the other thing is, like, with a bookshop, you can approach the bookshop and say, hey, I'm looking for a book about, something. And that's something that I think is invaluable that Amazon doesn't have. You can't go to Amazon and go, what's a good book? Because Amazon's just going to put up the book that's the bestseller, which may or may not be a good book. That's right. Some of those books that are, beware of the top selling books, because some of those books are written by, ghostwriters who may or may not have magical experience. So, so if you contact your local bookstore, just send them an email. Hey, I'm interested in starting magic. These are the things I'm interested in. What would you recommend? And then buy a book from them. You can buy a book online. That's a great way to get started. So,
I just thought of one other thing, which is, it's a challenge right now because of what we're living with right now, but going to festivals like PantheaCon is done. It won't be happening again, but there are other festivals that happen. And I know they're not always accessible to everyone, but there are big pagan festivals that happen all over the place. And what's great about them is there's often dozens to hundreds of presentations, so you can kind of get like a taste test of different traditions and how they do things, and sample ritual, and that can be really helpful for growth because you can figure out what works for you and what doesn't. I've learned a lot about what I don't like by going to pagan festivals.
Same. I'm like, nah. Ceremonial magic, not so. I don't want to memorize.
No.
No, that's just me though. No, it's not my jam. It doesn't mean I don't think it's legit or anything like that, but it's like what works for you, and you kind of, finding that personal path, I think, is really, really important. Yeah. Well, can you believe an hour has gone by?
It's crazy.
It's so crazy.
So fast.
I know, it goes by so fast. I had a great time having you, Phoenix. You are such a delight. You're just a dear friend and such a beautiful and amazing, wise sharer of information, a wise teacher. I'm so glad to connect the Spell Squad up to you guys, connect you guys together. So I hope you follow her and find her on Facebook, find her on Instagram. Your Instagram handle is Phoenix Le Fae, right?
Yep.
And then you have the shop Instagram too, right?
Yeah, Milk and Honey, Sebastopol. Yeah, and I'm on Twitter too, Phoenix Le Fae. I'm Phoenix Le Fae on all the social media. Twitter's where I go to be snarky.
So, so if you want to find Phoenix, just look up Phoenix Le Fae. I typed it in the comments in the chat. You can find it there. You can find her there. You can find it after I post this on YouTube. But thank you so much for being my guest. It was so great to have you.
Thank you.
You have a great time doing all of your class coming up. I hope it's a big smash. Thanks. And hey, you guys, next week, my guest is going to be Hoodoo Moses, who's another dear friend of mine. He's a practitioner out in Colorado who I know, and he's got a ton of wisdom. He focuses on a kind of, I would say, like kind of Jewish hoodoo, Old Testament hoodoo. So is what I would call it. So he has a lot of great wisdom. He is one of those people that really gets into the nerdery of it and really goes deep and really understands a lot of like ancient magical stuff. So he's a great, great resource. So you'll have him next week as my guest. I'm so excited about that. And I'll be here as always. So we'll see you next Sunday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks again for joining us. And thanks again, Phoenix. You
Thank
are
you.
my love. You know, I just love you so much. And I'm so
Yeah.
glad we got to spend some time together.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you so
All
much.
right. All right, loves. See you next week. Have a great, great, beautiful week, a peaceful week, a healthy week, a protected week. Take care. Bye-bye.